Okay, so my name is Candace Fuchs, and this is Reading Project 1. So first I'm going to start with my overall, assessment of The Road Not Taken as well as Before the Law. So first, The Road Not Taken, the traveler kind of, he wrestles with which path he wants to take, and he's like kind of observing them, and both are, he like decides to romanticize one. However, it's really not that much better, not romanticized. He tries to make one seem better than the other when in reality they're both equal, and he comes to that conclusion. But then at the end he chooses a path, and then because he knows he won't go back, and he chooses that path, and so he has to live with it, and at the end of the day that was the better choice to make. And it kind of represents how in life, once you've made a choice, you can't really go back. You've made that choice, and now you have to keep going. And that's what the traveler had to do. So, and then Before the Law by Kafka, it to me it seemed like kind of like a parable of a person in a religious aspect, like choosing to pursue a relationship with God or an entrance into heaven. And both, you have to choose for yourself what you are going to do and have to do the things in order to achieve either or both, if that makes sense. And in this parable, this man comes across a gatekeeper, and this gatekeeper like says that he's not allowed in. It's possible to be let in, but not now. Kind of like how you have to wait on the right time for some things, kind of, which is kind of what seemed to me. But also there were different aspects, like you could think about it in the heaven aspect, like the gatekeeper finally told him when he was about to die. And when you think about it, to visit heaven, like you kind of have to die. It was like you could look at it that way. And then the gatekeeper was kind of like, one could understand why the man did not go in, because the gatekeeper did kind of describe things as the other gatekeepers as like daunting, and like himself as like daunting more than what he was actually was. And so the man decided not to go through with it. And technically the gatekeeper never said that the other gatekeepers would harm him if he did decide to go. But it's like, kind of like, if you truly want to do something, you have to be able to commit no matter how daunting it may seem. And in the end, it might be better than what it actually seems like. Kind of like that. And so AI's assessment, I agree with AI's assessment, which was like Frostprom explores how people romanticize choice, while Kafka's parable exposes how people surrender choice, and how internal or external forces kind of influence that. I'd say that the road not, I'd say, and the road not taken, the traveler himself, kind of, looking back at it, he was romanticizing like which path he really wanted to take, when in like making it seem much more. However, in reality, they both paths were equal. And in the end of the day, it wasn't about which path would lead better. It was just about the choice itself. Like, just choose one. It doesn't matter, because it's not like you see both their outcomes. So it really didn't matter. So it was like romanticizing the choice itself, when in reality it was hyped up to more than what it actually was. And so you could see that when the traveler first says, he's like looking through the past, and he says, then took the other path, technically, as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim, like he's trying to make one seem better than the other. But then he goes on to say, had warned them really about the same, meaning both paths were worn, like, and they were rugged, and both of them were. Not one was better than the other. And both that morning equally late, meaning both paths were equal. But at the end of the day, he had to choose one, and he kind of is like reassuring himself that he made the right one, and but also he's like, I'm glad that I made that choice. I took the one less travel by, and that has made all the difference, when in reality, the only difference was made is that he actually made the choice itself. It's not like he could have saw the outcome. It's just the choice itself was what was the main aspect. So I agree with how people did romanticize choice in this. And then in Kafka's parable, he exposes how people surrender choice. The man surrendered his choice to actually go through the gate. Like I said before, the gatekeeper never said that that he could never go in. He said it is possible, just it wasn't the right time. And sometimes that's how life works. Sometimes it's not the right time, but that doesn't mean you stop trying. You still have to make that choice to keep on going. And yes, you could look at that in the religious aspect, like I was talking about earlier, but you could also just apply that to life in general. Dang, hold on. And like I said, it does, the external and internal forces, maybe like his internal fear is something that made him surrender his choice, but also externally it was what the gatekeeper said, like describing himself, but also the other gatekeepers. It just made it seem like, oh wow, maybe I can't go in. And kind of how he said it, he never actually he never said he could go in, but he never said he technically couldn't. He never said that you couldn't try, nor did he say that you could, or nor did he tell him how he could until he was about to die. So I'd say yes, he did surrender his choice, but you couldn't understand why he did it. So I would agree with AI's assessment as well. So yeah, that's it.